Hello, dear friends. The topic of today's video, traffic signs. The traffic signs are located on the side or top of the road. They give directions on how we should behave on the road so that the traffic can proceed safely and smoothly. Everyone must know the traffic signs. Mandatory signs. The mandatory signs impose an obligation/command that road users must comply with. Sign turning left mandatory. A turning left mandatory. Turn left only. Sign indicates that you must turn left at the upcoming intersection. It's a regulatory sign that requires you to follow its instruction without exception to ensure safe and controlled traffic flow. If you don't comply, you may face penalties. Sign turning right mandatory. A turning right mandatory sign, typically a blue circle with a white arrow pointing right, means that vehicles must turn right at the upcoming intersection and that any other direction of travel, such as going straight or turning left, is prohibited. Failure to comply with this regulatory or mandatory sign can result in penalties and can be a safety hazard. Sign passing left mandatory. A passing left mandatory sign means that if you need to pass another vehicle or an obstacle, you must do so by moving into the left lane. This sign typically indicates that the area ahead requires traffic to keep to the left, often seen on roads with two-way traffic where a central divider is absent or on roads with obstructions. Sign passing left or right mandatory. A mandatory pass on either side. Sign means vehicles must go around the obstacle or feature in the road on either the left or the right, as indicated by the sign. This sign is used for fixed obstacles, such as a traffic island or roadworks, and directs traffic to safely pass the obstruction by choosing the open side. Sign passing right mandatory. A passing right mandatory sign instructs drivers to pass an obstacle, such as a traffic island or roadworks, on the right-hand side of the road. This is a mandatory instruction, meaning you must pass to the right, and failing to do so could lead to an accident or penalty. Sign mandatory direction of the roundabout. A mandatory direction of the roundabout sign uses a blue circular sign with a white arrow to indicate the required direction of travel around a roundabout, typically counterclockwise. Drivers must follow the direction shown on the sign and enter the roundabout in the indicated direction, and this is a compulsory order, not a suggestion. Sign mandatory left or right direction. A mandatory turn left or right sign means you are required by law to turn left or right at the upcoming intersection or junction. Other directions are prohibited, and failure to comply can result in penalties. These regulatory signs typically feature a left-pointing arrow within a circular blue border to indicate a compulsory direction of travel for all vehicles. Sign driving straight ahead mandatory. A sign that reads, "Driving straight ahead mandatory," means you are legally required to continue in the straight direction at the upcoming intersection or junction, and any other maneuver, such as turning left or right, is prohibited. These regulatory signs, also known as ahead-only signs, are placed to direct traffic flow and ensure safety by preventing turns where they are not permitted. Sign mandatory lane for buses. A mandatory lane for buses sign indicates a bus lane that is legally reserved for buses and sometimes other permitted vehicles like taxis or bicycles during specified times. Drivers of unauthorized vehicles must not enter this lane while it is in operation. The hours of operation, if not 24/7, are shown on the sign and may require drivers to enter the lane only when outside of those times. Sign mandatory lane for buses and trams. A mandatory lane for buses and trams sign indicates that only buses and trams, and sometimes other permitted vehicles like taxis or bicycles, may use the lane, and other traffic is prohibited. This type of mandatory sign requires you to obey the instruction by not entering the lane unless you are one of the authorized vehicles. Sign mandatory path for cyclists. A mandatory path for cyclists indicates a designated cycle path that cyclists are legally required to use, while other vehicles are prohibited from it. This is typically represented by a blue, circular sign with a white bicycle symbol, signifying that cyclists cannot use the main road. The sign is an instruction or mandatory sign and must be obeyed until the next junction. Sign mandatory divided path for pedestrians and cyclists. A mandatory divided path for pedestrians and cyclists. Sign means that a path exists to separate pedestrians and cyclists, and both users must use their designated side of the path. The path is often indicated by a blue, circular background with symbols for pedestrians and cyclists and a dividing line. You must stay on the side designated for your mode of travel, ensuring organized and safe traffic flow. Sign mandatory shared path for pedestrians and cyclists. A mandatory shared path sign, usually a blue circular sign with white images of a pedestrian and a bicycle, indicates that the path is a designated route for both pedestrians and cyclists, and use is compulsory. This means that pedestrians must use the pedestrian portion of the path, and cyclists must use the bicycle portion. If the path is separated by a white line or symbols, you must keep to the designated side. Sign begin of a minimum speed. A begin of a minimum speed sign indicates that you are now legally required to drive at or above the speed shown on the sign, unless it is unsafe to do so due to road or traffic conditions. This circular, blue-bordered sign aims to keep traffic flowing smoothly by preventing vehicles from driving too slowly on fast-moving roads like highways. Sign end of the minimum speed. The end of minimum speed sign indicates that you're no longer required to drive at or above the specific minimum speed that was previously enforced. This blue circular sign with a number and a red diagonal line through it lifts the restriction, meaning you should then adjust your speed to the posted speed limits, road conditions, traffic, and legal requirements.